So, what is what comes to metaphysical and the view of the world? The right is pro-hierarchy and seeing people unequal and therefore people are different, while the left sees people the same like as a blank slate or at the very least socially conditionable and malleable to be equal, and against hierarchy because it's oppressive. I really don't have to explain which one of them has right view of the world. Right view of the world is in the name. Left-wing worldview goal is achieved by socialism, communism, Marxism, liberalism, and etc. But how can you make everyone the same or equal if people are inherently different? Well, you can force them and suppress inequalities that naturally come out, but ironically, to suppress inequality, you need an inequality. Same for hierarchy. They somehow can notice this or cope about social conditioning, so they utterly fail. Like Mao and Pol Pot being good example how to make people equal, but sadly not everyone got equally buried. To their coping, they also switched this out to ending workers' exploitation from capitalist class, but their logical conclusion is still equality, because paying workers differently is bad, and their theory is based on how much hours you worked, that much you will get. So the big question is, if right is against the left ideas of the world, so what is the actually what right believes in, and what's the logical conclusion without contradicting ourselves? As where do we start? Oh yeah, the right is more Darwinistic, because it sees people as unequal, and they let nature do its own thing. For people to do their own thing, they need to be able to choose their own lifestyle. A better lower time preference lifestyle, aka delayed gratification, brings in more better results, while higher one, instant gratification, brings in Darwin awards. As I'm talking about freedom of choice and freedom to pursue that, destructive or constructive, that leads to pure unequal outcomes, where better minded, more smart, more willpower people come out and lead the society. This will naturally develop into arguments. Well, if people can choose whatever they want to do, what if they want to take drugs? So, the question is to you. Do you want to take drugs? Well, no. And most people will avoid drugs, so they are not even affected, the bums are. My point followed to its logical conclusion leads to argument about, well, how does this affect you personally? While somewhat indirectly, I'm advocating a free use of devices, as it will be logical conclusion of the right-wing worldview, as it's Darwinistic and just leads to natural inequalities. And you might ask about society that it needs to be virtuous and anti-degeneracy, but I just say, gay marriage couples should protect their marijuana plants with guns, fuck yeah baby. In all seriousness, I have seen the wholesome alt-right mating cry in ChatTube, like one of the videos that Ubersci made about how does this affect you personally, where it talks about ma society, ma degeneracy, and what about the people? He would be right if it was why the fuck would we have to babysit every bum, every drug addict and every socialist? Like, the fuck? Well, this would be a reminder that I am not against protecting people from these things, or supporting people in general. If you want to do it, then do it. But allowing selling of vices or drugs is a quick way to find out which people are not compatible in a low time preference civilized society, and then fucking remove them. The point being that we don't need to hold every bomb to dearest to our hearts, let them get their Darwin awards and then show the door. Because there just isn't better solution. They otherwise will go to black markets and still be a bum without us really knowing. And actually the most peaceful and ethical way to do this is socially outcast the cracker than the bums until he gets moving. Even if we can get near perfect society without vices, there's still going to be bums, so at least they are not compatible with the society. One of the plus in the Darwin Award way, it shows out individuals with weak willpower, while drugs will be unpopular in healthy society, so exposure is very small. Disclaimer, of course I'm aware of the practicality of the legalizing vices. The example is nearly impossible if done right now. If we legalize all vices, we are going to crash the plane into publicly funded healthcare, and we don't live in a healthy society. I'm going to make more videos about this. It's also pointless to legalize them if you can't kick or remove physically the bombs out of the society. At the end, to do good, you need to be able to choose your own path. So I'm just advocating for that, and living being consequences of your own actions, which we don't really have in this society. And this makes it really scary, because for most people, it's a bad thing actually, as they don't have good results in life. Or why should I take responsibility for my life? Another way to take responsibility is to stop being a welfare bum. A caveat to this is getting welfare makes sense because you get taxed anyways. So it's like you put more in and you get less out, so you need to like equalize it more. But incentives for welfare overall is very, very bad, as people don't take things for granted, and it isn't their hard-earned money. They will prefer high-time preference instant gratification activities. The best example is looking at the poor. Imagine a crackhead comes and asks money. He says that this time for real, he locks in and becomes real Sigma male for real. As soon as you give the money, he will go buy more crack. If that crackhead earned money from a job, then he gets to see what work really means. And is it really that worth it to spend it on the crack? Or in the case of homeless people, they get money from being poor and homeless, which incentivizes them to stay in that socio-economic group, because he gets rewarded for it. Or you give him a house for a few months, and on the last month, he raids it like a pacing Clash of Clans and steals all the loot like a goblin, and on the last hour, pees in the corner for good measures. A better way for poor is a welfare where you have to invest in it first. I talk about this more briefly in the last video. Also, how does the welfare programs get funding? It's public funding, aka you lose some of the money from your paycheck to give it to people. Now where I have heard this before? It's just welfare distribution with a fancy way. Basically, they are trying to equalize society so that everyone has the same quote-unquote opportunity, but it ends up everyone having approximately same outcome. But this is impossible due to differences between humans, so really welfare can't work, because we all are different. What a surprise. This same kind of logic can be applied to everything that has public funding. A redistribution scheme. It's just everything for equality. Again, it's the left-wing idea. At this point, I think that the real difference is the socialism we made along the way towards more liberal society.